greetings from Los Angeles, California, USA. Today on Vegetarianism, the Noble Way of Living, we're back in the kitchen with award-winning and best-selling author Annie Pio. Her first cookbook, Annie's Raw Food Kitchen, was heralded as the Best Vegetarian Cookbook USA 2007. Annie herself has been adorned with 4 Best of Raw 2008 awards. Among them are Best Chef. You might also recognize her from special guest appearances on the Travel Channel and Channel 7 ABC, or from magazines like Alternative Medicine, Oxygen, and Veg News. Aside from writing for the Huffington Post and catering vegan events for stars like Maroon 5, Annie hosts the Annie's Raw Food Kitchen Show, the award-winning #1 uncooking show on YouTube. The lovely Miss Annie Pio joins us again for our series of vegan dessert shows, right out of the pages of her newest book, Annie's Raw Food Desserts. Just in time for the holidays and the visiting guests, Annie will show us how to make a decadent raspberry ganache fudge cake, free from guilt and full of goodness.
Hi, welcome to Supreme Master Television. Thank you so much for joining me here today. I'm Annie Pio, and I'm the author of Annie's Raw Food Desserts, my newest book. And I'm going to be showing you how to make a raspberry ganache fudge cake today. Traditional ganache uses cream and butter and sugar and eggs. They're actually, not good for our cholesterol, not good for our waistline. But the powder that I'm going to be using rather than flour is actually walnuts. And walnuts are a superfood. And they're a superfood because they're really high in really good omegas, omega-3. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to process these walnuts into a flour. So I'm going to place them into my food processor, about 3 cups. And then I'm going to give it a little light chop. You see, I've started making my flour. So I'm using a walnut flour rather than a gluten wheat flour. And then what I'm going to do is add in some of my cacao powder. The reason I call it cacao instead of chocolate is because it's actually unheated. It comes from Ecuador, and it's pulled off of the tree in the form of a cacao nib, which is then pressed to extract the powder from the cacao butter. And cacao powder and cacao and chocolate in general is also touted as a superfood by the FDA. And the reason is because it's very high in antioxidants. However, all food, once we heat it, we actually damage the antioxidant value in it. So when food is unheated, the antioxidants are at the highest level. So the raw chocolate has way more antioxidants actually than a cooked chocolate. And most of the chocolate that's out there on the market, like a chocolate bar, has actually been Dutched. And what that means is that it's been cut with an alkaline chemical. So you're not actually getting as much chocolate as you think, you're actually taking an alkaline chemical as well. And it's been cooked so that the benefits are much lower. And so this is a raw cacao powder. And then I'm going to put in a little pinch of salt. It's optional, of course, but I like to put salt in with my sweets because it really brings out the flavor of the sweets in a dessert. And then I'm going to put about a cup of medjool dates, and I just love medjool dates. They're local for me. They come from Indio near Palm Springs, just east of LA, and they grow on beautiful large palm trees. It's full of potassium and fiber and iron and all these nutrients that are actually good for us. It's a whole food fruit. Unlike a sugar, which is refined, white processed sugar has no nutritional value at all. With my cake here that I'm showing you how to make, there are no fillers. Every ingredient I am using provides our body with nutrients and nourishment that it needs to function and operate and battle off illness and disease and bacteria and fungus and all that kind of good stuff. It's actually rebuilds our body and helps us be big and strong, and healthy. I'm gonna process the powder a little bit just to give the salt and the chocolate, I'm gonna help it mix into the flour. And then I'm going to start dropping these medjool dates that I just pitted into the food processor. I'm using a dry flour, which is a nut flour, in this case walnut, and then I'm binding it together with the stickiness of the fruit. And this is going to be our cake. So as that processes, you can see how it starts to bind together. So this is now our cake mix. So you see the cake is made out of medjool dates, vitamins, minerals, potassium, iron, walnuts, which are really great for our heart and for our health and our skin, vitamin A, E, C, omega-3s, and cacao, which is packed full of antioxidants. So this is a superfood mix, and this is our cake. So I'm going to take about half of this, and I'm going to put it onto a plate, and I'm just going to form whatever shape I want to be our cake. So this is really fun to do with children. They like to make things with their hands and form things. So however you want this cake shape to be. It could be a heart, it could be a double layer grandma style fudge cake, whatever your heart desires. You just want to press it. You could also do a form. Like sometimes what I'll do is I'll use like a bowl and I'll line it with plastic and then press it in really tight, flip it over, and then pull it out and peel off the plastic. That also works as well as a form. But I'm gonna make like a little grandma style double layer cake. So I'm just gonna press this into a little round cake form. So there's our first one. And then we'll make another one that we'll put on top once we make our frosting and frost it. And again, the benefits of not having to bake our cake is that it's ready to eat right away. This smells so good. You could totally smell the chocolate. It smells so sweet and so delicious. So believe me, my house, even when I'm not baking, it still smells absolutely amazing. It smells actually fresher because everything's just really fresh. And now we're going to be making our frosting. And you're not going to believe this, but the frosting, the secret ingredient to the frosting is avocado. Now avocado can be used on your skin, it can be used in your hair. It's a really heart-healthy fat that is so good for us. And it's really fluffy and fatty and light. And so when we blend it and process it, it creates a really lovely texture for frosting. So I'm going to start by measuring about another 1/3 cup of medjool dates here. There's lots of different kinds of dates and you can just use whichever one you prefer. So again, as you see, I'm not using like sugar or anything like that to sweeten. I'm using a whole fruit. So this is good for us and there's no guilt. I guess that was why I decided to write a raw food uncooked book, was because I felt like with raw foods, the desserts are really what is so delicious. And I'd go to so many dinners and potlucks and I'd put my raw desserts out on the table and people would love the desserts. Who doesn't love dessert? And then they find out how it's made and what it's about and they're like, oh my gosh, it's totally guilt-free dessert. It's cruelty-free, wheat-free, sugar-free. You know, it's just all good stuff. It's made of superfoods, as you've seen. So I'm going to put some medjool dates into the food processor. All right. And then I'm going to put some agave syrup. Agave syrup is a low glycemic sweetener, but I also want a little bit of the liquid texture in here to help this move into and blend into our frosting. I'm going to take 1 avocado, and I'm just going to put a whole avocado in there. And you know, like in Southeast Asia, they put avocados in smoothies and in desserts and things like that. I think less so here in the States. Instead of using butter or cream, I'm using avocado, and it's so good. So I'm going to put that in there. And then I'm going to put in a little bit more cacao powder because we want to make chocolate frosting. Now, if you're sensitive to caffeine and want to cut back, you can use, you can mix in some carob powder instead. Carob is really great. It's a legume, so it provides protein. So I'm going to process this. It's going to make a creamy frosting. Wow. And that is it. Look at this frosting. Oh my God. When I first came up with this recipe, I swear, I taste tested it on my friends and they could not believe that this wasn't a ready mix from the store, because it tastes just like those ones that you get out of the plastic tub. That's totally not healthy, not environmentally friendly. You know, that's the other thing with raw foods, is that besides being super healthy and guilt-free, it's environmentally friendly. It's like the least impact that we have on the planet. So by buying locally and seasonally and eating more raw and buying things in bulk, you'll notice that, that your garbage goes away. Because most of the garbage in our kitchen, if you notice, is packaged food packaging. So I'm just gonna frost this as one would a traditional cake. And then what we're also gonna do here is add some beautiful raspberries. You could use strawberries too. I've used strawberries before. But raspberries are so gorgeous and they just add a lovely color. But you know, like raspberry ganache usually has a raspberry sauce in the middle. So we're just gonna use whole raspberries. It's gonna taste so good and it's gonna look so pretty when we cut into that. It's gonna have a beautiful red layer. There we are. And then I'm going to take my next layer. I'm going to give it a tight press, make sure that's okay. And I'm going to take my second cake layer and put it on top of the first, like such. And there we go. There's our cake. And then I'll finish frosting this. Then I really encourage parents and anybody who has access to children to bring children into the kitchen and really start making food with them, because by doing that, we're really starting to teach them and provide them with really important knowledge of food and like how to make food and what whole food is, and you know, and the kids are just these days just really get it. And if I ask them, well, what is it about raw food that you like? They get it. They're like, oh, all the research that I've done says that raw food is, you know, the healthiest way to eat and it's the lightest way to tread on the planet, and they totally get it. So this is our next generation, you know. So definitely, kids are just wonderful to keep involved in the kitchen. It'll be a little bit easier to frost your cake by spinning it around on the lazy Susan. But there we go. There we are. There's our beautiful cake. And then I'm going to garnish it with some raspberries on top. However you'd like to do it. You know, I just do like a little ring on around the outside just to make it pretty. And this cake tastes so unreal. You have to try and make it. It's so delicious. So this is our cake and that's it. Now we can cut into it and enjoy it. To make this delicious, healthy superfood cake, I've actually launched, it's available, it's sort of like an exclusive online at Essential Living Foods and also on my website, is the Raspberry Ganache Fudge Chocolate Making Kit. In your kit comes your cake mix already made up. You just make your cake. And then it has your frosting. And so you just open this and put it into your food processor with an avocado and blend it and makes your frosting. You frost your cake and then you just get raspberries and you just top your cake. So it's a ready mix. So again, for that, come to my website for more info, anniepio.com. So thank you for joining me here today on Supreme Master Television. I had a great time showing you how to make a delicious raspberry ganache fudge cake. How delicious is this? It looks so good. And it's a recipe that's out of my new book on page 49. So you can see the beautiful photo there. And this is my new book, Annie's Raw Food Desserts. So I hope that you will check it out. And join me again next time for another episode of Annie's Raw Food Kitchen on the Supreme Master Television channel. So I'll see you next time.
For more details, please visit www.suprememastertv.com/veg